Hey there, this is Alex Newton with Radiant Coffee Roasters. Today I'm recording a video for the Montevilla Farmers Market with the main topic being obtaining and managing your temporary restaurant license. So as a hot food or prepared food vendor, usually most people are going to be operating under a temporary restaurant license. Um, if you have like a food truck or a trailer or something, then you might benefit from looking into mobile unit licensing. It's a little bit more in depth, but it is ultimately it'll be a little bit cheaper on an annual basis, and it's also more flexible in that you can operate at other places throughout the year, as opposed to a temporary restaurant license, which is event and location specific. But the cool thing about temporary restaurant licenses is um, they're pretty flexible in terms of the requirements. So something like a traditional brick and mortar store has a lot of requirements and permitting for things like plumbing, exhaust systems, things like that, that can oftentimes be cost prohibitive. Same with mobile licensing. There are a lot of very specific mobile unit licensing. There's a lot of specific things that can get you held up on the permitting and licensing process. So the cool thing about temporary restaurant licenses is they're pretty flexible and the requirements are fairly easy to abide by. Um, the depending on your operation, there's different requirements, but so for me, I do mainly coffee and espresso service, so that's definitely on the easier side in terms of um hot food holding, cold food temperature requirements and stuff like that. But every license and every product is going to have different things that come along with it. So the first step is submitting a plan review to the county. So we operate in Multnomah County, and health licenses usually are operated on a county by county basis, depending on your product and what you're selling and where you're selling it. So we have a Oregon Department of Agriculture license for coffee roasting, but for serving coffee, that is under the Multnomah County Health Department. So when we are setting up at events and serving coffee, hot coffee ready to drink, that falls under the Multnomah Health County. So the first step is to submit a plan review. And so they have a standardized form, an outline for these plan reviews. And basically, the plan review is going to tell you and make sure that you are following the right protocol for all the various activities that might be happening under your temporary restaurant license. So depending on your product, some might not apply to you. Like we don't have leftovers, like we don't have food leftovers at the end of the day, so there will be a section where it goes into detail about what happens with your leftover food at the end of the day, the requirements. There's a lot of specific health code things that you have to be aware of, and a lot of it, if you've worked in the food industry, a lot of it will be standardized, like hot holding temperatures, temperatures to cook certain foods to. That stuff is pretty standardized, and those questions are touched on in the temporary or in the plan review for the temporary restaurant license. Um, but basically, they want to see with the plan review that you actually have a system set up to meet all these health requirements. Depending on your county, the plan review, will vary in price. I don't recall what it was for us. I want to say it was somewhere in the realm of $200 or so. And for Multnomah County, the plan review, once you have the plan review on file, it's valid indefinitely unless you change something about your operations and your plan. Um, but once the plan review is on file, you don't have to submit a new plan review. Whereas with a temporary restaurant license, they have varying lengths. They have single event, they have 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day licenses. So the single event and the 30-day license, they actually don't require a plan review. You're able to just submit the temporary restaurant license application for that and skip the plan review process. But for the 60 and 90-day, which is typically what you would be operating at for a farmer's market, that you do have to submit a plan review, but they're all the same price. So I think right now for Multnomah County, it's $160. So that, obviously that's kind of the incentive to do the 90-day, is it, same price as the 30-day or the 60-day. So if you can, and you'll be at the same event, the 90-day is ideal. But so each temporary restaurant license is valid for that specific location. So we operate at 4 farmers markets. We only do hot coffee service at 2 of them currently. So we have a plan review for a separate plan. We have a separate temporary restaurant license for each of those 2 markets, and they each have a separate plan review on file. So common things that you're going to encounter when you're filling out and setting up the plan review is you need access to a licensed commissary kitchen. So there's a lot of those around town, but a commissary kitchen license is its own thing. So you can't just go into any kitchen. It has to be a licensed commissary kitchen. They're gonna, ask what you do with your dishes, how you clean dishes, where you store things, how you prep food, how you hold it hot, how you keep things cold. All those kind of questions the plan review will touch on. And then the temporary restaurant license itself, once the plan review is on file with the county, the temporary restaurant license is more so you indicating where you will be applying this food operation plan to. So when you fill out the actual temporary restaurant license itself, you'll put the event, where it's at, what days it'll be operating, what times, when you'll be setting up, the event manager contact, your contact. And so you just email that form to the county, and you can find all the contact info on their websites and stuff. And there's different markets, in the Portland area. There's multiple counties that different markets are in. There's Clackamas County, there's Multnomah, there's markets up in Washington that are in the county up there. So, and each of these counties have different requirements for what they'll ask for the temporary restaurant. So I mainly have experience with Multnomah County. But so yeah, they'll ask you where you're going to be, what time, all that kind of stuff, and then you email them the temporary restaurant application. They will confirm it. They'll send you a payment link. You submit payment, and then the first day of the licensing. So if I'm getting ready to operate at a market, let's say on April 1st, I need to send that license application to them. I think their requirement is 2 days before the event. Otherwise, you'll incur a $100 late fee. So I need to send that to them and pay it. It doesn't go through until I actually pay for the license. But I'll send that to them, and then you can expect them to show up on the first day that license is active. So that would be April 1st. I submit the license, I pay it. Our first day operating on that license will be April 1st. An inspector from the county will show up, inspect everything, make sure it is in accordance with your plan review that they have on file. And they'll do the traditional checks, making sure that you have, depending on your setup, that there's a place, if you're doing dishes out there, we have a 3-compartment sink in our coffee trailer. They make sure that we have sanitizer. You need a sanitizer bucket, even if you don't have a trailer or mobile unit or something like that. You need a sanitizer bucket. You need the test strips for the sanitizer. You need to make sure that you need a probe thermometer so that you can check the temperature on things that are being held cold and things that are need to be heated up certain temperatures. So they'll come out, they'll do the health inspection, and then they'll print you your permit right there. And it has a sticky back. You can slap it on anywhere in your booth that's visible. They'll have you sign off, and then once you get that permit, it's valid for however long you applied for. So if it was 30 days, it'll be valid for 30 days, 60 or 90 days. So we do that process 4 times a year. We operate year round. So we submit our temporary restaurant application for each event 4 times per year, and we get 4 inspections per year. Um, yeah, and that's how we operate our food service at the markets. If you, like I said, if you look into mobile, if you have a trailer or truck or something like that, if you can get it licensed as a mobile unit, it is a little bit cheaper on an annual basis. But for us, when we first started operating, we were under a 10 by 10 canopy. So that type of operation is always going to be under a temporary restaurant license. So yeah, that's kind of how we operate our food service. It's kind of, a lot of paperwork to start out, but once you get it going, once you become familiar with the process, it's really easy to operate on. Basically, we have the application filled out, and every time we update it, we just basically change the dates. And if anything, any contact info, anything like that changed in between the last 90 days that we submitted it, we'll change that as well. But we submit that, pay the fee, and then they come out and inspect us. And yeah, it's a pretty smooth process. So yeah, that's kind of overview of getting a temporary restaurant license for operating food service at farmers markets. Um, I definitely think it's one of the easier permitting processes. We have a brick and mortar, and we've looked into mobile licensing, and that stuff is a little bit more in depth, and they have a little bit more specific requirements. So yeah, that's about it. Good luck on your licensing.